Hello, welcome. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about night weaning, night feedings, all of that information. If you are in nights, if you're on night 6 through 14, this video is for you, okay? So let's talk about night feedings, night weanings. Let's talk about, first off, why we do them. I know you've watched the ABCs of sleep, and so you're probably really aware of why we do these, but let me just do a quick recap. Everything that I was taught was like, okay, stop your night feedings, just stop them. The baby's gonna learn, she'll learn, she'll eat better the next day. So just cold turkey wean your night feedings. And as a mom, I just couldn't do it. I felt like I couldn't. Now there are cases, and I've talked to some of you where it's like, Kara, my baby's eating 1 to 2 ounces 1 or 2 times a night. He's literally just sucking enough to go back to sleep. In those cases, we say, okay, you don't have to wean the night feedings. Or let's say you have a 14-month-old. Sometimes those babies are like, they do not need to wean. But in my situation, my daughter was truly reverse cycling, where we were getting a lot of the caloric intake at night. And so if that's your situation, you probably are walking through these night weanings. So those first 5 nights, you know what we're doing. We're making a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less each night, and then gradually adding a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more to the daytime calories, so that pretty soon we have less caloric intake at night, all of the caloric intake during the day. That's our goal. Sorry, I have notes over here, so I'm just gonna shift over and just make sure I don't forget anything. So we don't want our babies to be hungry in the night. Like, that is like the first tip that I tell you is we will meet your baby's physical needs, and we want to do that. We don't want your baby to be hungry in the night. Also, we don't want to question ourselves as parents. I think when we're doing night weanings, we're very confident that, okay, his physical needs are met. He is not hungry. I'm offering feedings. And I feel like that allows us to be confident in our pop-ins and really follow that plan. But now let's talk about nights 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. You guys, if there's one thing I wish I could add to the ABCs of sleep, it's this topic right here. I think sometimes I've given the impression that, like, okay, night 1 is really hard, but then it gets better, and night 2 is better, and night 3 is better, and night 4 is, and then by night 5, it's just glorious. And if I gave that impression, I'm sorry, because I think I don't want to mislead you. And lots of times I think that nights 6 through like 12 can be some of the hardest nights. And so if you're walking through that right now, I wish I could just take your hands and say, look in my eyes. I am with you on this. You've trusted me this far. I'm not going to let you down. Wow, that makes me want to cry. I just remember how hard. Oh my gosh. I just remember how hard those nights are when you're in the thick of it. And so if that's where you are, I just want to tell you, please don't stop. This is, for some babies, this can be the hardest time. And this is when I want you to not give up. And so your baby is, keep in mind on night 5, maybe he got 1 ounce or 2 ounces, just a small feeding, or maybe it was 3 to 5 minutes, a very small amount. Keep in mind, it's such a gradual difference from night 5 to night 6. So physically, your baby isn't like gone from, I had full feedings last night, to now I don't have feedings and you're starving me. I really want to reemphasize that nights 5 to 6 was this much of a change. It's not, now my nose is running. You guys, I got all teary. I'm sorry. It's not a big physiological change, but I want to describe to you what happens that makes, why does night 6 get really hard if the baby's truly not hungry? And here's what happens. When you go in there at like 10:30 and 3:30 or whatever times you have, what's happening is you're resetting that baby's sleep cycle. So you're going in, you're resetting that sleep cycle. The baby's sucking, which is comfort. So not only did they have a reset, they had a little bit of comfort with sucking, and now they drift back off. And so sometimes nights 3, 4, 5 are like not so bad because we've reset that baby's sleep cycle for him. But then on night 6, then we don't have a reset. The baby is naturally going through his own sleep cycles, coming to the top, not having you reset it, and he's doing it all on his own. And so nights 6 through 12, 6 through 13, 6 through 14, this can be the biggest amount of work for you and your baby. So lots of times parents will say, well, what if we just keep the 3:30 feeding? Let's keep the 10:30 and 3:30 feeding. It seemed easier. Guys, I've tried that. I want you to know I've been doing this a long time. And here's what happens. Here's my experience with this. The babies, their bodies start becoming very conditioned to this. And so a 3:30 feeding, your baby starts waking up at 3:20, okay, I'm ready to eat now. Just kind of like for me, once I started eating breakfast, I used to not eat breakfast. Well, now I've started eating breakfast and I wake up and I'm like, it's 6:30, I need to eat. And so your baby's body does the same thing. If he becomes accustomed to eating at 3:30, he starts waking at 3:25 and 3:15 and 3, and his body starts waking for that feeding. That's why you see, my nose is running. I'm so sorry. That's why I really like you by nights 5 to really stop those nighttime feedings, because otherwise your baby's body becomes accustomed to that feeding. So we don't want that. Now, if you talk to a few moms in the group, I'm sorry about my nose running. I'm sorry, I'm not refilming this. I want to get this message out. If you talk to a few moms, they've had personal phone consults with us, and their babies were really low on the growth chart. Their doctors were really concerned about their growth. And so we say, hey, we're not going to do a 5-night weaning plan. We might do a 20-night weaning plan. And these babies, these moms know we're not going to see results in 14 nights because we're doing a very gradual night weaning. So that's, again, those are for babies who are really struggling with weight gain. So typically by nights 5, I want those feedings weaned. And not because I'm just mean and hard-nosed. You can see I cry over everything. It's because in my experience, the baby's body starts getting ready for these calories, and then the baby starts waking before you, and it becomes just a downhill slope. So this is why, nights 1 through 5, you're like, okay, it's okay. And then nights 6, 7, 8, 9, you start having all these early morning wakings. Well, what you were doing at 3:30 was resetting that sleep cycle for your baby. And that lots of times those babies would do great until 6:30, 11, 6:37 or whatever their 11-hour mark was. But then when we dropped it, then they started having these early morning wakings. And as moms or dads, what do we automatically assume? My baby must be starving. So we don't give it the 14 nights, and we immediately start adding in feedings because we thought, well, when we were doing feedings, he was doing great. Yes, but trust this process. Remember, it's a 14-night process, and it's tested, it's true, it works. Now you go, okay, Kara, I'll follow it. I'll trust you. Thank you for crying in this video. You guys, I'm sitting here alone in my house. My kids are going to walk in the door in 12 minutes. And I'm like, I saw one of your posts in the Facebook group. And I'm like, that's it. I'm doing a video. I'm in that group. I know you don't know it, but I see your posts. And my heart is that I want to help all of you. I want to create videos to help you. But my kids are walking in 12 minutes, and I cried in this video, and I'm just going to have to let it go. So what if you get to night 14 and you're like, Kara, we've been following everything and we're still having a hard time? Guys, use the resources that are available to you in the Facebook group. I'm going to pull one up right now. I wish you could see it. You can't, it's up on my screen and it's behind this video, but there's under files in the video group, there's the top 10 reasons we aren't seeing successful nights. I want you to look at that file. So instead of just going, we've completed 14 nights, I'm adding back in the dream feeding. Maybe that is the best thing for your baby, okay? Before you do that, the number one thing I want to ask you is, are you adding in more daytime calories? Are you, to every bottle, are you adding an extra ounce? Even if your baby's not taking it, are you offering it? If you're nursing, your body's going to do it naturally. Your baby's going to suck more aggressively. Your body's going to make it. So that's the first thing. But then go to that file, the top 10 reasons we aren't seeing successful nights, and look at it and say, okay, number 1, environmental issues. Is there light coming in? Is your baby going to bed already asleep? Okay, we were really diligent about, making sure he was awake on nights 1 through 3. 3 and 1 through 7. But towards the end of, his eyes flutter and he's in there really just kind of half asleep when I lay him down. That's a big one. Pop-in problems. Are you staying too long? Are you providing, more soothing than what's expected and your baby's dependent on that? Like, could that be part of the problem? Parental stress. Have you watched the video that says your baby can read your stress level? That's a big one, and I want you to understand that if you're stressed when you go in that room, your baby's picking up on that. Nap concerns, that overtired babies during the day can cause problems at night, and so, for some of you, it might be time to start some nap training, developmental leap. If your baby's going through some big mental leap, that can be a reason that you're having troubles. Tummy time, is he getting stuck on his tummy? Are you being inconsistent? Are there any medical concerns? Does he have an ear infection? And then towards the bottom of that list is hunger. Like, okay, we've weaned out those night feedings. I know as a parent, the first thing you think is, if nights are hard, my baby must be starving. I'm starving my baby. But if you're following like I'm telling you, keep in mind the difference between even night 4, night 5, and night 6 are incremental amounts of calories. So I don't want you to automatically jump to hunger. But let's say, okay, possibly you've ruled out all these other causes. Perhaps your baby truly needs a feeding. I want you to go in the files portion of the Facebook group and look under, I want to get the name of it right here for you. It is called, sorry guys, one moment. It's called the Dream Feed, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. And it kind of talks to you about why we would keep the dream feeding. What are the guidelines? Like, keep in mind, if you're going to do a dream feeding, you want it before 11 o'clock. Why? Because that's when your baby's drive to go to sleep is the highest. And so if you're going to add a feeding back in, make sure it's prior to 11 o'clock. Now, here's something I want to tell you. Before I put this class online and I was working one-on-one with parents, very, very, very infrequently did I keep the dream feeding. I'm going to tell you, if they had weight issues, we kept it. And occasionally for 5-month-olds, I would keep it. Other than that, I rarely kept it. Now, that doesn't mean anything. If you're keeping the dream feed and you feel like, Kara, that helps me be more consistent, I feel better about that, okay, no problems. But sometimes if your nights are hard and you're keeping the dream feed, the best thing might be to do is drop it. Now, if your nights are hard and you aren't doing a dream feed, the best thing to do is to add it. You're like, Kara, you're so confusing. What's the right answer? It's different for every baby. And that's the great thing about this program. We want you to see that there isn't one answer for every baby. And that's why we have the support for you here, this Facebook group, because we want you to ask your question and hear from different mentor moms and different moms and dads in the group and let them weigh in and say, okay, this is what we did for our baby and this is what we did for our baby. And then you filter it through your belief system. You filter it through what you know to be true about your baby, and you make the best decision for your baby. The other thing is, that's why we have phone consults. We want to talk you through it and help you decide, hey, if you're still struggling, what could be the reason for it? We're here for you. You are not alone in this journey. You are not alone on this process, just like your baby's not alone in this process. We want you to see success. We want to help you change your life. So if you're on nights 6 through 14 and it's hard, look in my eyes. You've trusted me this far. I'm not going to let you down. We are here for you. You have support. Please trust the process. Okay, we want to get you and your baby sleeping. I hope this was helpful. Have a good night. Bye-bye.